Good evening, everyone. Welcome to GSS Core. This is Ajay Shah, and today we have a very important guest with us, Mr. Shrestha Anupam, who has secured All India Rank 19 in UPSC 2019. And he's basically a chemical engineer from IIT Delhi. And after this IIT Delhi, he started preparing for UPSC as a fresh graduate. And in his very second attempt, he has qualified UPSC with All India Rank 19. So, Shrestha, welcome to GSS Core.
Thank you, Ajay sir. It's an honor to be here, and thank you for your wishes and congrats.
Thank you. Shrestha, the first question to you, how are you exactly feeling after becoming IAS? How your life has changed after becoming IAS in the last few days?
The moment when you search your name in the holy list, in the holy PDF as they say, and you see that, when I checked it, so I started looking my name from the beginning as I was expecting a very good rank. So when I didn't find my name in the first 8 to 10 names, I was like I got a bit scared. And then I said, let's get over with it. Let's just search my name. And I searched my name and I found it on 19. So that moment cannot be defined in words exactly. So what you feel at that moment, that only you can know what you feel at that moment, right? It's just an unreal moment. Let's keep it at that. And my sister was beside me at that point. My mom and my dad, they were in the other room. So I told my sister, and she was like, she gave me an expression which was an out of the world expression. And I went to my mom and dad and I told them, and they were just taking a nap and they just jumped out of the bed. So it was like, and my father just hugged me, and my mom went to the before God's idols, and she just started praying, and it was such a great moment. Like, I think such moments come in your life, in your lifetime, a very few times, and these are some moments that need to be cherished for the entire life.
Okay, Shrestha, tell me one thing: how much family plays a role in the success of anyone in this UPSC examination?
I would say family plays a very important role. And in my case, the family has played a very, very, very important role, especially because my mom and my dad, they both themselves had dreams of becoming civil servants. So my dad is an MA graduate. He's a history graduate from DU. And after his graduation, he appeared for the civil services examination. He could not clear it due to some difficulties. There were financial difficulties. There were other difficulties as well. The coaching institutes were not that prevalent at that time. So the guidance was not that good. My mother could not give the examination because at that time a woman who does her master's in science, that itself was a very big feat. And to send a girl to Delhi to prepare, that was something unprecedented. So because they themselves had their dreams unfulfilled, and because from my very childhood, so I had shown an inclination towards the civil services preparation, towards the art stream, towards books. Like I'm an avid reader of books. So they always guided me, they always motivated me. They ensured that even though their dreams they had so big dreams, they didn't pressurize me a bit. They always gave me the space to, chill out, to zone out, and to prepare at my own pace, to prepare when I was ready. And I'm so thankful to them for that, for all this.
Okay, Shrestha. Shrestha, tell me one thing. You're from IIT Delhi, fine? You're basically from chemical engineering background. So what's your experience when you switched directly from this technical core science background to the world of humanity, where we have to study polity, history, geography, and how was your experience?
To tell the truth, I have always been more comfortable studying humanities and arts. So, I was good at maths. I was good at solving numericals. I was good at mathematical calculations. That's why I got through IIT. So, my 4 years of IIT, I did not focus that much on the chemical engineering part. I was just an average student at IIT because I couldn't study that much. I didn't enjoy the chemical engineering part that much. But I made some good friends in IIT. I have some very fond memories of IIT that have almost nothing to do with academics. So for me, this change was a bit natural, and it was almost like I was waiting for this change, to switch from the science stream to humanities stream. So for me, it was something like that.
Okay, fine. Shrestha, if you see several rankers, for example, one of our students, Pratibha Verma, who is All India rank 3, so she chose engineering physics as her optional, fine. So why did you go for something like sociology instead of chemical, which was part of your graduation?
So chemical engineering itself was not a subject in UPSC, so it's not one of the listed subjects. Okay. And the reason I did not choose subjects like maths and physics, so there are two basic reasons. I've always enjoyed humanities, so I read the optional books, the history books of my father when I was in school itself, in 9th or 10th itself. So I went through all his books, the modern history, the ancient and medieval history. I was a literature student, so I have read multiple books on literature. So I always enjoyed humanities more. That was one of the reasons that I knew that my strength lay in humanities. So that was one of the reasons that I chose humanities optional. The other reason was that my writing skills have always been good. So even in my spare time, I keep writing blogs, I keep writing stories, I keep writing novels. And because I have a good grasp on English, my writing skills are, let's say, fairly well. So I wanted to have an optional where my writing skills would come into play. So sociology as an optional gave me that opportunity to display my writing prowess.
Okay, fine. Suresh, tell me one thing. The syllabus of UPSC is quite bulky and it's quite complicated. We have prelims, then we have mains, we have interview, and we have lot of subjects. Almost all the subjects under the sun are basically part of UPSC. So basically, the students, they have a normal apprehension on question. How do we remember such a vast syllabus, and how we reproduce that in the examination of mains especially?
So yeah, you're very right. The reproduction of the immense amount of knowledge that we gather during the preparation, that is definitely a concern. And for that, what I did was that, so in my first attempt, though I could not get through prelims, I realized that I was not fully prepared for mains as well. Because I realized that even though I had gone through all the course material, and like the knowledge deficit was not there, there was a
Shrestha, your mic is in mute mode. Can you please unmute?
Hello.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So I knew that I would not, if I were to give the exam in 2018, I knew that I would not be able to reproduce the knowledge to the extent that I wanted to in the examination. So this year what I did was that when I revised my course material, when I went through the course material, the mains preparation material, and kept myself limited to some sources which I knew were very high value add, which I knew that would be directly reproducible in examinations. And I made very short notes out of it. So the things like, the data points, the important topics, the very important points about the very important topics which were in news, the committees, the reports. So I prepared extremely short notes of these things, and I kept revising them again and again. So between prelims and mains, I revised them almost 5 to 10 times, and they got stuck in my mind. And so in the examination, when a question was even related, even like remotely related to that topic, the topic which I had studied, I was able to connect the two topics.
Okay, fine. Shrestha, what was your style of preparation? Was it integrated preparation, that means prelims and mains integrated, or you prepared individually prelims and mains separately?
It was both integrated as well as a bit separate for mains. So the static things like the polity, history, modern history, if I talk about environment, economy. So what I did was that in this prelims, in the 2019 attempt, when I was going through the spectrum or different sources, Lakshmikant, so all these sources when I was going through during my prelims, so I ensured that I revised them at least 5 to 10 times even before the prelims, so that I would not have the time, because I knew that I would not have the time to revise them before the mains. So these static books, I went through them like I would do before the mains as well. So before the prelims, all the static books, I went through them as I would do for mains as well as prelims. So that was integrated. And after prelims, for subjects such as ethics or for subjects such as essay, I ensured that I also had some extra bit of points for the mains answer writing as well. So I prepared philosophers, I prepared quotes, I prepared some introductions and conclusions. So these are some of the things that I prepared extra for mains. So I would say my preparation was integrated as well as a bit discrete for mains.
Okay. Shrestha, it is said that for prelims, we should be more factual oriented, data oriented, and for mains examination, conceptual clarity should be the depth of conceptual clarity is required. So just give me an example. For example, say a student who is going to study President of India from Lakshmikant, then how the approach should be different for prelims and for mains examination?
I would say that, see, what you are saying is definitely correct. In the prelims, there is definitely an emphasis on factual knowledge, and in the mains, the analytical skills come into play. However, if we analyze the last two papers of even the prelims examination, then I would say that there has been a shift from purely factual information to even analytical questions in prelims as well. So I would say that now UPSC is giving the aspirants an opportunity to study everything in a more analytical and more comprehensive way. So as you asked, if I were to study president, so the only difference that would be there in the prelims and mains preparation would be that in prelims, I would focus a bit more on the factual side just to be on the safer side, because the analytical and conceptual clarity has to be there for both prelims and mains. For prelims, I would just keep in mind a few facts, like the facts which, have a like yes or no answer, like can the president remove the prime minister, or who imposes the emergency. So these are the facts that I would keep in mind. For mains, I would also go through the functions and I will do an in-depth analysis of the critical position. So like what are the functions of president? What is his position vis-a-vis the prime minister? Why is he the nominal head and not the real head? So I would also go through these questions. I would also go through these concepts in mains, and I would like, just have an understanding of them in prelims. I would not prepare notes on them. So this is, I feel, the only difference between prelims and mains preparation.
Okay, fine. Shrestha, tell me one thing. Nowadays, test series is quite popular. I've seen that normally all the students, they go for mains test series, they go for prelims test series. So how to extract the maximum output from test series?
I believe that test series definitely play a very important role in both prelims and mains preparation. So for prelims, I always believe that the tests have to be given in the 9 to 11 slot. Like, you cannot give them at any different slot. You have to give them as you would appear for the prelims examination. So print out the test, take out an OMR sheet, have an OMR sheet printed, attempt the questions as you would in the prelims examination. After you have appeared for the test, analyze them as you would analyze your examination paper, and find out whether are you repeating a similar type of mistakes. Is there a pattern to your attempting the questions? Is there a pattern to your mistakes? Once you are able to find out systemic patterns, like these are the mistakes, once you analyze your 5 to 10 tests, combined, and you are able to see that, yeah, this is the type of mistake that I'm repeatedly making. For example, in my first prelims, I observed that I was in my single choice MCQs were mostly correct, but I was getting some difficulty in the 2 or 3 statement questions. So I identified that this was an area where I tended to go with either all of the correct or none of the correct. So I found that this was one of the hunches which was coming out wrong in the examination. So this time, what I did was that I read very carefully both the options, and I only attempted that question when I was fairly certain that I know the answer to this question. So I would believe that test series does play a very important role. In prelims, as I said, appear for at least 30 to 40 tests. Different tests, different flavors of tests, part tests, full tests, and always give the test in an OMR sheet. Create the exam environment as far as possible. For mains, tests are even more important because the answer writing is very important. You will be judged on how you write the answers. And while prelims is an examination which you just have to clear, mains is an examination where you will actually be ranked. So your performance in mains will be evaluated vis-a-vis the other candidates as well. So in mains, you have to have an edge over the other candidates. You cannot just say that I cleared the examination. You have to say that I want this rank in the examination. I want this service. And that would be decided by your marks in the mains. So you have to give tests. You have to give tests so that you are able to bring out the best of your strengths, the best of your strategy. And you have to do answer writing practice. Because see, writing mains test in 3 hours, it itself is a great task. Because you have just 9 minutes, or let's say like 10 or 15 marker questions. So you have 7 to 10 minutes to attempt a question. So there is no time to think, no time to, finalize, yeah, these are the 4 points I would write, and then go about writing. You have to write and think simultaneously. You have to do both at the same time. And that cannot be possible unless you have done extensive answer writing practice. So I would say that in mains, the answer writing practice becomes even more important.
Okay. Shrestha, what is the right time to start writing practice for the mains examination? And what's your personal experience for this?
I believe that before prelims examination, even if you have not appeared for full 3-hour tests, you should definitely have a taste of answer writing. Like, you must have gone through the UPSC past year question papers of mains. You should have an idea that these are the type of questions that can be expected in UPSC. You must have written at least some of the part questions. For example, let's say you have read polity. So you must write at least some of the questions which have been asked in, let's say, UPSC previous years, or in the test, in the question booklets of various coaching. So you must have attempted some questions so that you get an idea before prelims that this is how mains answers should be written. Once your prelims is cleared, so then you can go for writing full tests. So you can write full 3-hour tests after your prelims is done. And I would advise that if you have time, let's say if you are a bit early into the preparation, and if you have time before prelims to even write 3-hour tests, I would definitely advise you to go for that. This is just for people who don't have that much time before prelims. So like after prelims, you have to ensure that you write at least 10 to 12 full-length tests and at least 6 to 8 tests for your optional. So 20 tests is a minimum, I would say, for writing between prelims and mains. And before prelims, you have to ensure that your concepts of answer writing are totally clear, so that you don't, when you write after prelims, you are able to write that in the exam mode and not like, a beginner, or you are just experimenting. So the experimenting phase has to be get done over with before the prelims itself.
Okay, fine. Shrestha, tell me one thing. As a fresher, for example, a person is there who starts his preparation, say, from 1st of September. So how should he go with the newspaper? Because I've seen that when the students start for the first time, they face quite a lot of problems in reading the newspaper. So how should they deal with this, the newspaper reading?
See, in the beginner's phase, everyone faces a bit of problem in the newspaper because everything seems so important. And if we start making notes in the starting itself, then people find that sometimes reading the Hindu may take 5 to 6 hours. So it is definitely a challenge in the beginning days. So I would say in the starting, take guidance from someone. There are videos available on the YouTube. There are people who have made full strategies on how to go about reading the newspapers. Read only content which is required. Don't go about reading the whole newspaper. There are pages which you don't need to go through at all. Definitely focus on the national page. Definitely focus on the front page. Definitely focus on the editorial page, the economy page. And after after you have got into the groove of newspaper reading, after you have spent 1 to 2 months reading newspaper daily, then you will find that newspaper reading automatically becomes an easy task. So you can read them in the evening or in the night when you are feeling low. So if you devote 45 to 1 hour after that, 45 minutes to 1 hour after that on a daily basis for newspaper reading, you will find that you are able to retain and to understand sufficient concepts which will be required in the examination.
Shrestha, you have qualified this examination in the second attempt. So what were the lacuna on which you worked in your second attempt? Number one. Number two, how did you keep yourself motivated in this entire journey of preparation?
To answer your first part, in my first prelims, I observed there were two major lacuna which had held me back from performing well in the examination. The first was that because I was just a fresher out of college, so the prelims was on 3rd June, and the college, the courses and all the formalities of the college had gone well into May. They had gone till 25th May. So I found that I could not get into the groove of the preparation. Like, even though my syllabus, the subject matter was complete, I was not in the exam mindset for the prelims examination, and that was one thing which held me back. The second thing which held me back was that I was not attempting the tests very comprehensively, or the way the tests have to be attempted. So as I said to you, like the second time I made a change that I would attempt the tests only 9 to 11 a.m. I would give them in the OMR sheet. In the first time, what I was doing was that I was taking tests very lightly. So even though I had appeared for 25 to 30 tests, what I did was that I gave them at different times of the day. So I would give a test in the evening. Sometimes I would give a test at night. I would not analyze my mistakes. So I would not know. I got 130 marks or let's say 120 marks, and I would be very happy that, yeah, I've got the marks now. The analysis part is not needed. So this is something which I worked upon in my second prelims. So I increased the number of tests. I increased the time that I spent in the analysis of every test. I gave the tests in 9 to 11 in the exam mode. And I ensured that a proper revision plan is in place so that all the information which I'm reading, it is properly revised, and so that in the exam I'm able to retain and to attempt the questions which fall within the domain of that knowledge. To answer your second part, could you repeat the second question? Sorry.
How did you motivate yourself in this journey? How to go for self-motivation?
So self-motivation is definitely a very important part of the entire preparation journey, because it's easy for an outsider, it seems easy to just sit for 2 years or 1.5 years and to sit for study 10 hours. They feel that it's similar to a work profile. However, it's not, because in the exam you are not just working. You are not just studying, you are also in a way preparing yourself to get ahead of others in the race. So in order to ensure a rank, you have to ensure that you have a competitive advantage over all the other people who are appearing with you. So this definitely plays on your nerves. There are times when you will get anxious. There are times when you will feel tensionized. So I would say that to keep yourself self-motivated, even though it's a competition, even though you are competing against others, always your first competition should always be with yourself. So don't think about what your friends are doing. Don't think about what the toppers have done. Just analyze your own strengths, analyze your own weaknesses, find out what part of the day do you study the best, which are the things that you can perform the best, and focus on yourself. So if you are low, find out what is the thing that is making you anxious. Why are you feeling low? And then work on it. Because the more you understand yourself in this preparation journey, the more you will find that you are able to clear this exam with ease. So it's also a journey of self-discovery and self-preparation. So that is an important thing which can help a role in dealing with the anxiety.
Yeah, thank you, Shrestha. Shrestha, you just mentioned about notes making, and the syllabus of UPSC is quite bulky. We have optional also. So how do we decide that which is that part for which we should go for notes making, and which are the parts we should skip in this notes making?
I would say that note making. What many people commit mistake in notes making is that when they start giving first reading of a book or any source, they start making notes then and there itself. So one of the problem that this thing poses is because you are giving a first reading of that book or that source. So everything seems important because you are reading it for the first time. So in our notes, what is done is that everything of the book is copied in our notes copy. So this is a mistake which I did in my first attempt. So in my second attempt, what I did was that I ensured that I would only make notes after I have gained a complete understanding of the source material, and after I have given it at least 2 to 3 readings, so that I am only jotting down what is absolutely necessary and what I feel would ensure that would be directly reproducible in the examination. So I would make very concise points. I would write down only the facts, only the points which needs to be directly reproduced in the examination, and only, as I mentioned, the committees, the different data points, the quotes, the philosophers, the name of the thinkers which needed to be there. So I would make very brief notes, very concise notes, and ensure that I revise them daily or weekly so that they got stuck into my mind.
Okay, fine. Suresh, tell me one thing. All UPSC aspirants, they feel a dilemma. The dilemma in studying the fresh things or revising the past which they have already covered. So how did you deal with this dilemma of going for revision or studying something fresh?
I believe that, these are two things which need to go about simultaneously. So you can neither leave out revision out of your strategy, neither can you leave out reading new things. So what I did was that I allocated 2 hours or 1.5 hours daily for revision, for revising everything that I had gone about in the past. And around 6 to 8 hours, I kept for reading everything new. And once a subject matter was complete, let's say I'm reading history, and once I've gone through the entire book, what I would do is that I would allocate 1 or 2 days just after the completion of the book, so that I could revise the entire material once again. And after a week or after 2 weeks, I would again keep a slot of 1 or 2 days where I would revise the entire material and again and again. So I would say that if you make a timetable-wise strategy, wherein you have divided the number of times you have to read each subject, wherein you have divided daily, that daily this is my routine, and you have extended that daily routine to, from the last day of the examination to the day from where you start preparing. If you are able to make this routine, then you will find that reading new material as well as revising would fall in place as you would like them to.
Okay, Shrestha, what was your style of studying? Did you study one subject at one go, like one subject continuously for 1 week or 1 month, or you would go for diversification of subjects while you're this preparation journey?
I always went for diversification because I am a guy who cannot sit and study for long stretches. So for me, the most productive time was morning. So I would always keep the most difficult part or the part which required a lot of memorization in the morning. So in the morning slot, I would read 3 to 4 hours a subject which would require my complete attention. In the afternoon, because I was a bit tired after the morning session and there was lunch and there was a bit of nap. So I would keep something which would keep me engaged. I would study something that would keep me engaged. So I would do either a bit of answer writing, or I would watch some video, or I would, just go through previous year questions to see whether I'm able to do the thought exercise or not. In the evening, I would again keep a subject which would require a bit of my attention, because after the afternoon session, my brain would again be rejuvenated. So either I would revise what I had studied in the morning, or I would again pick a subject which requires a bit of attention. And in the night, for the night, because the night was the time when my energy was the lowest and I could not study that much. So I would always keep the videos or the YouTube videos or something like that, like the RSTV, let's say the RSTV debates or things like that. So I always kept them at night, where they would require my minimum attention and where I would just relax and just watch through them.
Okay, Shrestha, everyone has some distractions in his life. Fine. You also must be having some distractions. How to deal with this distraction? Say, for example, someone is more interested in social media, or someone is more interested in movies and all. So how should we keep ourselves motivated and concentrated, and we should avoid this kind of distractions?
I would like to say that, as you're very right, distractions are one of the major hindrances that prevent an aspirant from clearing this examination. And while saying this, it is also important to note simultaneously that you do need some kind of recreation, right? You cannot just go about studying every time, every hour of the day, because then you will be completely burnt out in a week or a month, and then you won't find your interest in study. So I would say identify some productive recreation, some productive enjoyment, where you are able to rejuvenate yourself for the next round of studies. Don't waste too much time on social media, because social media is a place where people post their happiest memories. People post a face which is not exactly depicting their real life. And because you are in the preparation phase and you are always in a bit of low, because you realize that you are not in a job. There are people who are doing jobs. There are people who are going on tours. So I kept a distance from social media because I didn't want the external world to, deviate me from my preparation. And what I did was that for movies and TV series, because I was a big fan of books as well as movies and TV series. So I would do what I would do is that at night I would allocate half an hour or 1 hour, wherein I would watch either one episode of a TV series or half movie or a quarter movie, and I will do things like that so that I would rejuvenate and feel fresh in the morning. And every week, so like let's say Monday to Saturday, if I had studied hard, then one day in a week I would keep for complete relaxation, wherein I would completely relax. I would go for a walk with my friends. We would go visit some place, or I would watch one or two movies, so that I would be rejuvenated for the next coming week. So this is what I did.
Okay, so we should balance our both of the lives, the life of UPSC also and
Definitely,
the social
definitely.
life also. Fine.
Definitely, because it gets fine.
Yeah, Suresh, tell me one thing. What is the right time to start for the preparation? Someone starts after 12, someone starts even after 10, someone starts after his college. So what do you think when you started the preparation of UPSC in a very vague sense, we can say?
I started my preparation. I started coaching for GS in the third year of college, in my third year of college. So I started taking coaching in the third year. But if I have to say that I got into the groove of the preparation, so that was in the second semester of the fourth year. Like I appeared for the 2018 prelims, which was in June. And I think that I got into the groove around sometime around December or January. So I would say that even if you are a fresher just out of college, or even if you are a last year student, I believe that is that time is sufficient. So a time of 1.5 year to 2 years is definitely sufficient. And if you want to have an edge, if you want to have like you are a pass out of 12th class, or you are just a fresher into college and you want to do something related to UPSC. So what I would say is that work a bit on your comprehension skills, work a bit on your writing skills, because this is a thing which will definitely benefit you into the examination. Watch a bit of videos, just gather a bit of knowledge, so that you are not bogged down by the amount of knowledge that you have to face in the UPSC examination, and focus on the mindset. So so that you are not afraid of knowledge, so that you are able to take an analytical or critical view of things. But at the same time, don't go into specific preparation 3 to 4 years back. I would advise that go into concrete and specific preparation only 1 year or 1.5 years before the examination year in which you are appearing.
Okay, fine. Shrestha, did you put any extra effort keeping this interview process in your mind during this preparation?
I would say that during the prelims and the mains preparation, I was not thinking about the interview at all. So I started my interview preparation only after the mains phase. But if someone wants to work a bit on your language skills, on your personality skills, then there are multiple avenues like public speaking, debating, where you are not directly preparing for an interview, but you are in a way developing your personality. So I would say that if you are that afraid of the personality test, or if you want to perform well, you just want to portray your best self during the interview phase, then what you can do is that you can participate in these extracurricular activities like debating, the literary club, or things like writing, which will definitely help you in the interview phase as well.
Okay, Shrestha, I want an answer from the point of view of aspirants, because you have qualified UPSC with All India rank 19, and you must be having a lot of friends within your circle. So what do you think, what are those common mistakes which basically aspirants make and they fail consistently in this examination?
Yeah. So as I said, like I believe that there are 3 to 4 common mistakes that every aspirant makes. And at the same time, we have to understand that not all aspirants will make these mistakes. So, but if I were to take a general view and list the common mistakes, then the first would be going into too much sources. So this is something that all of us face at least some point or the other during the preparation. So I would say that limit your sources. Don't go into too many sources, because there is no limit of information that you can gather in the examination. And what matters is not the amount of information you have, but what is the amount of information that you are able to reproduce in the examination. So limit your sources, multiply your revisions, and ensure that you have a mastery over all the sources which you have read. This is the first thing, that don't go into too many sources. The second thing is that don't keep reading new things and not revising. So revision is an integral part which many of us focus less on or neglect in pursuit of new subjects. So always revise, always keep at least 1 to 2 hours daily for revision, because it would ensure that all the things that you have read, you are able to retain that in mind and also reproduce them in the examination. The third thing I would say is keep a limit on the distractions and the amount of influence that the exterior, the outer world has on you. So limit your interaction on social media. If you're not able to handle it, leave it completely. Don't get bogged down in the world of social media. If you are, let's say, if you are too much into movies or TV series, you might want to cut that down a bit to a manageable time. So the third thing is that don't go too much into distractions. Keep your focus completely and totally into this examination. And the fourth thing is that don't get into a vicious cycle of disappointment and delusion. So because this is a very trying examination, because you will not always get successful in the first attempt, as in my case, I got success at the second attempt. So there will be times where you will face failure. So don't get too disheartened by that. Always keep yourself motivated, keep your confidence high, and you'll definitely get through it the next time.
Thank you, Shrestha. Shrestha, now I have some questions from the people for you. Fine. So Manoj Hasar has a personal question to you. How to make basics and fundamental strong, and how to get into depth of conceptual clarity?
What I would say, what worked for me. So what I did was that for the basics and the conceptual part, I ensured that whenever I was reading a basic book, let's say if I am reading a subject like polity or modern history or environment, whatever source I was using, I would ensure that I would go through that source at least 2 to 3 times in the first time itself, so that to ensure that I have completely understood the concepts. If I did not understand a concept from the book, I would go to the YouTube or I would go to Google and I would search that and would find out the best way to study that concept or to understand that concept. And I will only move forward and I only moved forward when I understood that particular concept. So this is how I ensured that I achieved conceptual clarity. And what we can also ensure is that one should not, one should not start by reading very applied things. So start from the basics, either through NCERTs or through books which you can know, which you can rely on, that they contain the basics as well as the entire conceptual clarity. And once you have achieved mastery over those basics and those conceptual clarity, then you can go for any source which you believe that contains more information or the applied concepts as well.
Thank you, Shrestha. Shrestha, there is a girl, Nikita Kulhari from Rajasthan. Actually, she is 20 years old and she is now in college and she is going to attempt in 2022. So basically, in the next 2 years when she is in college, what advice would you give to her for this preparation?
I would say to Nikita, that Nikita, you have a good amount of time before the actual examination. So first of all, like, go through your basic concepts very well, go through the standard books very well, and ensure that you have understood the basics very well. And once you find that you are able to retain and reproduce the basic concepts well, then when the examination is coming near, let's say you are attempting for 2021 or 2022. So once the examination is 4 to 5 months away, start appearing for tests as well to ensure that you are able to reproduce or you are able to retain that information in the examination as well. And always keep revising. So because there is at least 1.5 or 2 years before you have to appear for the examination. So whatever you read now, ensure that you have a proper revision strategy in place, so that this information that you have read 1.5 years ago, you will be able to retain that 1.5 years later as
well. Okay, thank you, Shrestha. Rahul from Andhra Pradesh, he has a question. Whenever we search on the internet or anywhere, what are the book lists for the UPSC? We get lots and lots of books, hundreds of books are there for any particular subject. So how do we decide that which book should we go for this UPSC? This is a dilemma.
I would say that, of course, there are multiple sources for each subject. And there are, every source is good and every source is bad in a way and every source is good in a way. So, sources in itself don't make much of a difference. So it's your mastery of the source, it's your understanding of the source that finally matters in the end, and not the source itself. So I would say that go through, take any book list for any subject. Like, in market, there are books available. Everyone knows that what are the standard books that one has to study for the preparation. Follow any topper's blog, just, mark his book list that this is the books that I have to study. And don't, like, if you follow 10 toppers, if you go through the book list of 10 toppers, everyone would suggest a bit of different books. And you can't read each one of those books, because then you will be completely bogged down by that information. So limit your sources, go through the sources or strategy of just one person, or just, one coaching, any one coaching advises, and retain that, learn that. And any source will do, provided that it is comprehensive, and you will get to know that which source is comprehensive, which source is not. So keep your book list limited, limit your sources, and have a mastery over them.
So mantra is to read one book multiple times rather than reading multiple books one time, right?
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah. Sankalp has a question, and I've seen this as a teacher, that some students, they are quite good in polity, but some students are quite bad in bio. So if someone is bad in any particular subject, what should he do? Should he put his entire energy and focus on that subject in which he is weak, or he should work smartly?
I would say that first of all, check what's the weightage of the subject in which you are weak at in the UPSC. For example, if that subject is something as important as polity, let's say, or as important as modern history, then that is something you cannot afford to be weak at, because that plays an important role in prelims as well as in the mains examination. So find out what's the weightage of the subject in which you are weak at in the UPSC examination, in the different phases, in the prelims as well as mains. If that has a very low weightage, for example, let's say most of the people find difficulty in doing ancient and medieval and art and culture, and because that does not have that high significant of a weightage in prelims, and in mains that is almost redundant. So what most people do is that they just skim through, they just do the very important concepts and they don't go into the depth, and that works for most of the people. So I would advise you to do the same. If what you are weak at is something like post independence or world history, which has a very low weightage, then you can just go through a very concise notes of the same, or a very skimmed version of the same. If it is as important as polity or environment, then you have to ensure that you do a mastery over that, because you cannot afford to be weak at these subjects.
Fine. Thank you, Shrestha. Shrestha, there is a guy, Dr. Rohan Patil. He is basically in MBBS final year, and his question is that he is doing internship and he is totally new to the world of UPSC. He has no idea of the syllabus and all. So how can he decide which subjects in UPSC, which part of the syllabus is more important than the other parts? How to get this idea?
I would say that this again pertains a bit to the last question. So there are different sections in UPSC which have a very high weightage. For example, if I were to say which are the portions which have a very high weightage in UPSC, I would say polity has a very high weightage in prelims as well as in mains, in GS paper 2. Modern history has a very high weightage in prelims and in mains GS paper 1. Environment has a very high weightage in prelims and in GS paper 3. Economy has a very high weightage in prelims as well as in GS paper 3. Geography has a good weightage in prelims as well as in GS paper 1. Society has a very good weightage. So these are the blocks which have a very high weightage. You can get to know about what are the most important blocks through going through the previous year questions, as well as getting a rough idea of the entire UPSC syllabus. So you will see that the things that are mentioned more and more common in the syllabus are the things that need to be went into more detail. Like ethics is something for which an entire paper UPSC has kept an entire paper for GS4 for the ethics, integrity and aptitude portion. So that is definitely something which is very important, because that is something which will constitute 250 marks of your mains preparation. So once you go through the question paper, once you go through the strategy, the preparation strategy, you will get to know what is important and what is not, and accordingly you can prepare your own strategy.
Fine, Shrestha. Shrestha, this is in fact the last question for you. Rahul has a question because prelims is there on 4th of October, and now Rahul has sought almost 20-30 mock tests of prelims examination. Now, how should he revise those test papers in this short span of time?
I would say that one thing you have to do is that for the remaining tests that you give, always revise them on the same day itself. Like, don't repeat this mistake of keep accumulating 15 to 20 tests which you have not revised. So first of all, don't repeat this mistake. And secondly, for the 15 and 20 tests that you have revised, if they are part tests, let's say you have given 3 to 4 tests of polity, 3 tests of history, if they are like part tests, then once you have again revising polity, because there are 2 months left in the examination, you will definitely revise each and every subject once again, at least 3 to 4 days each subject you will give. So once you are revising that subject, you have revised that subject again, then take out all the part tests of that subject, all the 3 tests or 4 tests, whatever part tests you have given, and then revise them. So you can do it that way. So you have revised the subject and you have also revised the test of that subject, and then analyze the mistakes that you have done.
Fine. Shrestha, one more question. In UPSC, we have people from different backgrounds. Some are from CBSE, from ICSE, from state boards, from IIT, from AIMS and all. So who is the right candidate for UPSC? Can anyone qualify this examination if he starts preparing right from now? Doesn't matter what he has done in the past life. What do you feel? What's your experience in this?
I believe that everyone is an ideal candidate for UPSC, irrespective of your graduation stream or background. There are different streams which provide you competitive advantages and have disadvantages as well. For example, I was an engineering student. So engineering students have an advantage that they can tackle new things very easily. Like if there is a change in syllabus or if there is an unexpected question in the examination, then because we constantly deal with the unexpected, so we have a slight edge there. The students of humanity have a slight edge in writing because they keep writing questions like the a question of arts which are similar to questions of UPSC in their college examinations themselves. But I would say that UPSC is a very great equalizer. It brings almost everyone on the same platform, and even if someone has already an edge on you, even if someone is already a bit forward than you, then don't get disheartened by that, don't get bogged down by that. If you will just go through the list of the toppers in the last 10 years, you will find that everyone, ranging from an engineer, a doctor, a law student, an economics graduate, everyone from Hindi medium to English medium to state medium, everyone and everybody has cleared this examination irrespective of their background. So I would say that your background does not matter. What matters is your hard work, your perseverance, your dedication towards this examination, and ensure that your weakness in turn in one and a half year span becomes your strength. That is the only advice that I have to give.
Thank you, Shrestha. Thank you very much. I would like to have your last words to the aspirants, especially the people who are going to appear in this 4th of October prelims 2020, Shrestha.
So to the people who are going to appear for the prelims on 4th October 2020, I would advise that, see, these are difficult times for all of us. This is an unprecedented situation, the COVID-19 situation, and you are already hearing a lot of news about that. So, like, don't get, as I said, you have to keep a distance between yourself and the external world. So keep yourself safe. Don't get too much lost into the news. Like, don't get into speculation whether the prelims will be delayed or not, or when is the UPSC going to prepare the question paper, things like that. Just keep studying, no matter whenever the examination takes place. Even if it gets delayed, the knowledge that you have gained, the studies that you have done will not be lost. So keep yourself focused in studies, keep yourself dedicated, limit your interaction with the outside world, and now is the time that you start giving a lot of tests, because prelims is barely 50 to 55 days away. So this is the time that you start revising all the important concepts that you have studied till now. You start doing fast revisions. And this is also the time that you start giving a lot of tests. So appear for a lot of tests, revise all your concepts, revise all the standard books and the current affairs, and keep yourself motivated, keep yourself charged, keep yourself energetic, and don't get bogged down by the external situation, no matter how bad it is.
Thank you, Shrestha. Thank you very much, and we are glad to that. We are basically glad that you took so much time, and that too when you are enjoying your golden period of life. So thank you very much, and I hope that the students have learned a lot of things from you, and they will definitely work and they will get an inspiration from you. Thank you, Shrestha. Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure being with you. Thank you.